Hello, everybody. Hello. This is actually the first podcast that we will be recording in English. Welcome to the Super Deal podcast. Today, my guest is Florin Stoian from platformy. Hello, Florin. How are you today?
Hey, nice meeting you. Fine. Thank you. Thank for the invitation. Happy to chat with you, Robert.
Yes, I'm very pleased that you agreed to come to my podcast and talk a little bit about I would say tech revolution in property, residential property. I hope. So this is the main topic: how the tech-driven revolution will change residential property market. I invited you because obviously you have the platform, Milluu platform, that specializes in pretty much online rentals service and helping landlords to better rent their properties. So for the beginning, could you tell me a little bit more about introduce yourself a little bit? Tell me a little bit more about yourself and our listeners.
Sure. First of all, thanks for the invite. I'm Florin Stoian. I'm the founder of and CEO of Milluu. We are a platform that we are digitalizing the rental process. And when I mean the rental process, it's about how you book an apartment and how you manage over a long-term base. Our goal is to digitalize the entire process and bring more value to the people involved in that in this matter. When I'm speaking people involved, I mean about the owners, and nevertheless the tenants, the ones that are need to live and have a proper space where to stay. Our main mission is, as mentioned, try to bring technology in front of us and try to improve our daily lives by putting, first of all, the people's benefit and technology along with.
Mm-hmm. Great. So how long your platform is basically running, or you are originally from Romania? Yes, that's where you started the platform, and currently you
Indeed,
are.
yeah. Yes, we start the product in 2018 in Romania, in Bucharest, as told you. The idea is that the path was not an easy one because, as you most probably know better than me, the real estate market, it's a heavy one in any point of view. And we had some years of struggling, or years some pivoting, understanding the market habits, improving our system, and finally heading to a point where we stand now, being almost the biggest player in Romania in terms of long-term rental apartments. And since this June, also launching our operation in Warsaw with a good traction and good success, seeing a good opportunity in terms of to market, in terms of similarities and way of work.
Okay, good. So let's maybe set the stage with maybe first question. What's the kind of current state of the market? How this process of renting apartment works. Maybe for people that are not so familiar. What's the traditional way that it works on the market, and then we'll maybe progress a little bit to how this technology possibly can change all the experience and help landlords and help tenants to basically bring those two sides together and make it more efficient, right?
As we see in the past 30 years, at least in our case, we see very small changes in the way of people are making the rentals. If you look also in both countries, Poland and Romania, we see many the same players, different kind of marketplaces that aggregate the listings from the owners. And where, unfortunately, the single technology that we see at this point, it's making and taking calls. Obviously, that in the past year, we see that newcomers are coming in the market, but the main part of it is still it's an obsolete market with a lot of bad habits, with a lot of a waste of time, with a lot of uncertainty in terms of dealing with certain metrics, like, for example, being an owner, you don't have a solution, for example, to know what's the status of your payments, or being a tenant, you have no solution in order to solve different kind of issues. There's only an ongoing ping pong between owners and tenants, and we are seeing that literally also accelerated by the COVID era that we have passed. The things are slightly starting to change. We've seen a bigger adoption in terms of willingness of the people to accept technology. If, for example, before COVID was a heavy discussion that you could have with, for example, in our case, with owners, after the COVID times, they are much more open to talk with. They are literally not necessarily willing to adapt and adopt immediately new stuff, but at least they are willing to listen, that are willing to understand how in some possible way might improve their daily lives. Going back to your question, obviously, nothing has changed in the past in the classic and traditional way of dealing. Still, the major part of the rental is made offline, and that is something that is 100% sure. But as we see, people are starting, at least in case of the tenants, they are starting to expect more than that, because you see that technology has changed our lives, how you, for example, order food or book a transportation car. And more than that, they are also expecting as the rental process to be a little bit more streamlined in terms of technology. Obviously, that this is not going to happen overnight, but the change is there. It's going to take years. And things that you are doing with your podcast, with your events, us in terms of trying to bring the latest technology in front of the user, we are working and changing this ecosystem finally.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with the thing that COVID changed a lot. That, including myself, I started signing the paperless contracts, showing people just videos of the property. Not necessarily everybody has to see it personally first, and that's definitely going that direction. I can see that already, and I also, even this year, I can see even more with artificial intelligence coming into the market. That could, substantially change it even further and make it even more personalized. I think this is the way forward that will be hard to stop. And I think it's just a matter of, how fast people will embrace it. And especially for people that not only have maybe one apartment, but they have few, in a way for them to compete on the market with like institutional investors, like PRS, that will provide better service and and probably even cheaper. The individual landlord has to think about how to improve the experience for tenants and make it more enjoyable and streamlined, like you said. So looks like we agree on that. And how actually your platform is taking part in it? What's how your platform is addressing these issues that tenants have, and how you thought about helping the tenants on their way?
Yeah. First of all, Milluu, it's a platform that addresses both of the parts. And when I'm meaning that, it's obvious the tenants, the people that have the need to live, which is a primary need of us like individuals. And second one, the owners, mainly the one that you are saying, not necessarily, we are not addressing the PRS, institutional builders. We are targeting the owners that own 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 apartments. And nevertheless, for all of them, there's a struggle. Although we speak of a tenant, to find an apartment, everything it's on guess. Being a tenant, you start making some calls to an apartment that might not be still in the market, not knowing if that is the right address, not knowing what are the real cost of living there, not only the rents and so on. On the other side, for an owner to manage 1, 2, 3 apartments is not an easy job. It takes a lot of time, a lot of stress, leaving apart the fact that at some certain period of time you need to replace those tenants, but you need to carry on to have on time your rent payments, your utility bills management, cover the issues that can come along with different kind of, I don't know, appliance repairs, emergency assistance that can come along in that realm. All this combined go both players to a position that they cannot control it. And this is where Milluu comes in this proposition. And what we are doing, we are taking the peace of mind and of the owner by handling us the apartment, and we do for him two main pillars. The first one is the fact that we are taking all the offline processes, such as making the visits, signing the lease, making the rent payments, and the bill payments. We are taking from the offline to a fully digital platform. And secondly, because you know exactly like us that what an owner is really wants from that apartment. He wants to have the most and the biggest rendement as possible, which means that he wants to have that lease as much as possible covered. And what we are doing, we are also guaranteeing him that if he's gonna work with us, in a matter of maximum 30 days, since he hand over us the keys, we're making those rent payments for 12 months, no matter what, if that apartment is rented or not. So in this case, he have full predictability and full visibility on what's gonna happen with that apartment in a 1 year base. Mm-hmm. On the tenant side is the same structure like the owner. With our solution, the tenants can easily book via one tap in our app a visit. They can apply to rent. They can build up their tenant profile in order to be able to validate their tenant profile. They can sign the e-lease of renting that apartment, making the rent payments, making the monthly bill payments. Imagine Milluu like a platform that it has in one tap all the information that he needs in terms of rent payments, bill payments. And more than that, what we have done, we have built with our insurance partner an insurance that any of those two players, owners and tenants, can benefit. For example, if a pipe is broken in the apartment, immediately the tenant using our platform can call the insurer, and in an 88 term of 24 hours, somebody's coming, solving that problem for free. In this case, for example, there are owners that are staying abroad. They don't have nobody on the spot or on the field to fix that. By bringing third-party providers like insurance company to cover the process, we have closed a gap between some issue that come along. In short terms and short words, Milluu is offering the necessary tools for both of the owners and tenants to digitalize the current operation. And more than that, we are putting the financial cap on the owner side by guaranteeing those payments for the at least 12 months period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, so it looks like you've diagnosed very well problems, at least in the Polish market, for most of the tenants that are really kind of scared, or these that are not very educated. They're scared of renting out their apartments because they are worried that they're not going to get payments first, and then they might have a problem getting rid of the tenants. So I think you have a similar issues in Romania. Is that correct?
Similar it's the same. The pattern. Yeah, the similar law, the pattern is the same, and the market habits. You know, we are speaking about Romania and Poland that are very fragmented markets. And when I mean fragmented markets, we mean tens of thousands of owners that own 2, 3, 4, 5 apartments. For example, in Western Europe, in Germany or France, Italy, is the opposite, where corporation owns tens of thousands of apartments. You know. In our side in CE, the market being fragmented comes with a lot of pain. And exactly as you mentioned, the tenants have an issue finding a right apartment. In the same time, the owners have a pain point in their lives because they don't know exactly how that tenant will succeed and fulfill their duties, because that's the main issue. And secondly, what's happening if they will not the rent paid, and more than that, what's happening if, although they not getting the rents, also that apartment can be destroyed in terms of, I don't know, eviction, goods and movable will be destroyed. So there are many questions in that regards. And if somebody will say, "Hey, it's so easy to rent an apartment," I can guarantee them that is not an easy job. Just at least once a year, let's say that you need to change a tenant, to make tens of visits, meet with people that you might know is just a voice behind a phone call. You spend half an hour between commute, the time in the city, and nobody's appearing at the visit. and that's just the easy part. Imagine that, as you mentioned, not to get your money and be in the impossibility to evict that tenant. What comes along in terms of
so I agree that in Poland at least we have definitely this sort of issues, and I don't see any in the near future any solution for that in the way that the law will be changed, that will make it easier. We'll see. It's still we are evolving as a market, and many things can come. But one more question. So you've mentioned things that your platform or people, tenants, landlords can do on your platform. So what they cannot do in your platform, basically, which things that they are not included or cannot be done, using your services?
Yeah, the idea that we are not going in literally facilitating management. We are not going into plumbing stuff, renovation, different kinds of. So we still stay in this discussion between owners and tenants like a technology company. We are trying to automate those processes that can be automated, because as much as we wanted, rental space will still some offline activities. First of all, from how you manage to make those visits, because still 70-80% of the apartments are rented after have been visited on the spot. So still the market is not ready to book without seeing it, at least long term, that we are addressing. So there's that physical meeting on the apartment. And secondly, yes, indeed, there might be cases in a lifetime cycle of a rental that you might need some offline intervention. Like, for example, the washing machine is destroyed, or the tenant doesn't have the capacity to start. Different kind of issue that come along. At that point, what Milluu is doing, we are trying to build up a network of partners that can come and fulfill those needs, but they are not under our own liability as a responsibility. So we are not in charge of those kind of situations. We are literally facilitating the payments of the rent, utility bills, administrative costs, and for the other things, as mentioned, we have built up that insurance that covers those risks, but that's all. We still stay like a technology company, and obviously the risk payment, which in our case, in terms of the owner, is the most valuable sales channel that we do talk with them.
Okay. And what about things that sometimes people are worried about, which are like, security of data breach, giving data to your, do you address it somehow? Privacy, trust between, having another partner?
It's a good question. Mm-hmm. Yes, it's a good question, because in order to be able to fulfill our promise in terms of list of bill payments, administrative costs, in order to be able to have access to those data, owners are asked to provide us their credential, for example, on Tomoidon or e-Kartoteka, for example, where they're taking their monthly administrative cost. Still, the trust that we need to build around it's a heavy one, because as you mentioned, people are not willing so easily to share that kind of sensitive data. But we are trying to discuss with them in the following way: hey, what can be the worst case that we can do to pay you all the bills? And they literally understand that that's the biggest harm that we can do, because as you know, in one account from e-Kartoteka can be 3, 4, 5 addresses, point of consumption. or also like electricity, and the worst case that we can do, we can pay the whole bills for the whole apartments, although they're not being in our Milluu platform. And with this kind of debate, we are easily moving and convince them to give them access to get those kind of data. Because otherwise our service will not be fully fulfilled to them. Our promise will not be completed, because I cannot manage the bills from your side unless you give me access to those bills, to upload it to the tenant application as the tenants, to pay them, and then to pay them to the provider. So, but it's a slow process that is changing, and nevertheless, we need to be fair and have an open discussion. Milluu, with his business case, it's addressing at this point 3 to 5% is from the market. Still the growth of the market is by doing by yourself. Still, the major part of the owners are doing by their own. So they're making their own visit, they are taking care of the bills, they are charging the tenant. So they are all in one service. And our niche it's a niche. It's not the mass market. But as mentioned, we see an improvement in this direction. We see people, for example, in our case, that are coming with one apartment just to test it, to feel the taste, to see how it goes, to understand it. Because as you mentioned, it's about adoption, and it's about also educating the user. And after, for example, 1 month or 2 months into one apartment, they bring the second one. Then they bring the third one. And this is a process that makes us to believe that it's just a matter of time. Obviously, that is not going to change in weeks or months. But in years, the number of the people that will come and use third-party solution to manage those rent will change dramatically and will improve.
Yeah, exactly. I see lots of potential for you in this kind of segment of semi-professional like investors, landlords that will need to somehow compete in the future with the bigger PRS, institutional investors, and would like to have like a more predictable kind of service for the tenants. So this way they can outsource this part to you and then focus on the things that will basically that's left. So I see big potential, and also I think with the advance of AI, that will, I think. Are you planning to use that somehow in your platform? This technology, artificial intelligence, or to make it more personalized? Or you are kind of.
No, at this point, yeah, we are looking it. I'm as mentioned, it's an open discussion, and I'm fully transparent with you. It's not an easy technology to add it, at least in the prop tech where we are. What to, and in order to put an AI in our case, you need to have tens of thousands of apartments in terms of data that you have in your system, which we don't have. We speak only a few 100,000 apartments that we manage at this point. It's not what we do behind the scene. It is something. Yes, we are a data company, because we are aggregating tons of data from the real-time market, like apartments that are published in Warsaw, prices, square meters, rental price per square meters, location, amenities, point of transportation. And because in order to be able to offer a correct price that we can guarantee to the owner, we need to have data behind. And we already have some AI technology in our backend that validates the price for the listings that are coming in our lead system. Because at this point, if you are, for example, if you go to our platform, to website or application, and you make the form and give us the data about your apartment, in our system, we will know immediately if your asking price, it's a correct one, or it's out of the market, or can be low or out of the price. Because as mentioned, before being a prop tech company, we are a technology company, and we need and we count and base our know-how on data. But as mentioned, obviously that AI will change the way how we make things. In my point of view, in terms of real estate, it's too soon. there are other technology and other industry that can be easily swifty and using technology. Imagine, Robert, that as mentioned earlier, still 90% of the market is pencil and paper. You cannot bring pencil and paper directly to AI. You have to have a smooth process, at least to some digital technology, and then to put the cap of AI that will take finally decision or will give you guidance. The gap is too big at this point in the market.
Yeah, and people with the COVID, they have to be forced basically to use something rather than they do it willingly, isn't it? So if they have option, they do something. It's just habit of doing same thing, isn't it? It's easier to continue doing same thing always than they use new ways.
Imagine that, for example, now we are testing in some of our apartment in Romania. We are testing remote visits. What means that we are installing some smart lockers on some apartments. It's a testing module, and tenants directly by the app they can book a time frame in between, for example, 1 and 2 p.m. In that time, they have a unique code that when they get to the door, automatically with their phone they can open the door, make the visit by themselves, and they obviously there's also a video camera up front of the entrance to see exactly when it comes in and out, not to get with the TV on the back, But that's where the maximum technology has arrived in the rental, at least in our case. This is the scenario that we are testing at this point. Visits without a physical presence of some of our employee or the owner.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's actually a good way. Actually, and if we could, what do you see looking into the future? 10 years, how do you think the market will change quicker? Will people adapt the changes? Will they have to adapt the changes, or it will continue like this? I mean that most people will still do it traditional way. What do you think?
It depends. It depends on for example, in my belief, I might be wrong. It's an assumption. People that still own 1-2 apartments, low number, they will still continue doing that. We have seen that it's like a second job. Managing that apartment for many of them that have 1-2 apartments is like a secondary job. It's something that it keeps them alive. It's something that they have something to work after the work, and those people are the most hard ones to move it on the technology side. But as you earlier mentioned, they are coming from the back, not PRSs, but smart investors that are having putting their economies and their investment in new stock of the apartment, which are a lot in previous years, and they want to big and optimize their portfolio. Those are the people that we are trying, and those are the people that we have seen in the short and mid future that are willing to fully adapt in terms of latest technology, latest solution in order to optimize their incomes, the processes. Because as you see, a rental market it's one of execution mainly, execution and processes behind. Because in order to have an apartment, you need to manage it, you need to get a rent in time, reinvest that rent, and so on. And when something is missing in this chain, everything is broken. And where we can see the technology is fitting, it's on these small investors that are willing to share from their income for a peace of mind and for a much faster growth and return of investment.
Okay.
Because they need something that they can count on it and they can measure it on real time, with not just hoping that they will get that income, hoping that rent will be fulfilled until the 2 years and so on. Not the small one, like 1-2, like a secondary, but the ones that need small investors. Yeah, those are the people that we see in terms, and obviously the big PRSs that are building their own structures of technologies. Nice. PRSs that own hundreds or thousands of apartments. They build it from scratch, mainly the entire environment, from platform to manage the tenants, third-party providers for managing the issues, financial models for that's a different story.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes sense for them, because when you invest a few tens of millions and building I don't know, 5 or 10 blocks, mainly for rental scope, it's easy to build around the necessary infrastructure to be able to manage that potential.
Exactly, they have basically scale to be able to get the cost down and things like that, isn't it? So that's why I think
exactly.
Hope that the technology that changes rapidly will be kind of able to leverage the smaller investor options to be able to compete with the bigger players, isn't it? That's my
I still believe that I believe there's plenty of space in the market for both of them. Mm-hmm. Because as mentioned, as you can see, also as a EU Commission and the entire spectrum of the market, it's presumed that in the next 3 to 5 years, the rental market will double, in the C region. And it's obviously why. The mortgages interest are high sky. The price of the apartment has grown very, very much. It's very almost impossible to approach a new building if you don't have a lot of money. Secondly, they are coming from the back, the young people that not like us or like our parents willing to own something. They are willing to study. They are willing to travel. They want to be more libertine instead of owning something. All these combined lead us to the effect the assurance that the next year the rental market will grow a lot. Imagine that nowadays in C region, I don't know, the ownership it's an 90% as an average. Yeah. If you're looking next year, has dropped with more than 5%.
I agree. That's especially in the markets like Poland, probably Romania as well, when there is most of the rental market was in the private sector and most people own the properties. Now it definitely changes, and I see the shift of young generation preferring to not necessarily owning, or not as many owning, but a lot of them will also be willing just to pay for the service and be able to have more flexibility, basically, isn't it?
Look also how the Polish government, also the Romania, are struggling to give some preferential interest for first acquisition. They are still trying to boost a little bit the construction side, which at this point it's a little bit blocked. We need to face that. But their conditions are very strict, and not so many people can fit in that criteria. And this one also presume that will send the other people to rental because they don't have any other chances to buy it. You cannot go and take a mortgage with, I don't know, 10%. It's madness. Nobody can afford a 20, 30 years loan with 10% on a year base. It's madness.
Yeah, definitely, and it's also flexible rate. It's not fixed, so that's another
exactly
issue. Now I think that will change actually in near future. But I always was kind of I like the U.S. market because of that. They have a 30-year fixed mortgage, and if you get it at the good rate, you are basically it's much more predictable, isn't it? Than this what we have here. Okay, good. So just to I'm looking at the time. We still have a little bit of time. One thing I wanted to ask you is about because I own some apartments that are basically split into the rooms. So I rent each room individually. Is something like this? Could I use your platform to rent those out?
No. Our business model is the following. First of all, we have the model called ready to move model. What it means ready to move in our case, it means apartments that are fully furnished. So we are not taking any empty apartment in terms of furnishing, fully equipped in terms of appliance, from oven till washing machine and in some cases also air conditioning. where the tenant can easily get his luggage and move inside. Okay, obviously with no cutlery, with bed sheeting, but the other stuff, all the amenities should be there. That's our model. Secondly, we are not going on rooms, and we are not going on short terms, because we have seen, in order to be a technology company and be able to scale what we are looking, and when I meaning scale, we aim at the platform next year to cover top 5 cities, the biggest cities in Poland, if you wish. You need to be as slim as possible in terms of operation. Okay, and renting rooms, it's not an easy story, like also like that short term, because you need to make separate contracts with those tenants, with separate condition, separate payments, bill payments, because it's coming a full electricity bill in that apartment, and you need to split it between those tenants. One is coming at the end of the month, in terms of being able to operate kind of tricks and things is not an easy job. It's nothing that can be easy scalable, can come along discussion between. So to be open and stay close to your question, no, we are just focusing on renting as a complete unit, not rooms, and not short term, only at least 1 year minimum lease period.
So long term, basically, or medium term.
Exactly.
Okay, good. I wanted to also ask you, because you are obviously not from Poland, you are from Romania. What's your perception of the actually Polish market? How do you see that market? You probably have comparison, and you've decided for some reason to enter this market after Romania and not the other one. What do you think about the potential of this market for the future? Is it a good idea to invest in property in Poland now, and in the future, what will be the demand for the rentals? How do you see that changing?
In terms of market, obviously that we made our own research, and we see the same similarities with the Romanian ones, as mentioned. A lot of fraction, a lot of granularity on the ownership, low number of technology and startups in the market, but in the same time, Poland compared to Romania, it's a little bit more structured in terms of regulation. In terms also, for example, if in Romania a two-room apartment, meaning 1 bedroom and one day room, it's the average rental price is 450, 500 euros. In Warsaw is 750. What we have seen in the same time in the Poland in the last months, we have seen a spike of the rents, but now it's a plate. So there's no more hiking, because they are still at a level where we can see that is maximum at this point. And although the owners are going and trying at least for a few days to push the rent, you'll see immediately that in maximum 1 week they will drop the price to, because we have this kind of debates with the owners that we work with. They are coming to us and say, hey, let's make the following: keep my price 7 days, and if it's not working, drop your price to the one that you have recommended, and then you start counting those 30 days when you start making the payment. And in order to show them that they are wrong, we do this kind of test. We take the apartments on their condition, we give them a week where they want to spike the rents, and they see that they have no interest, no phone calls, no visit, and they can go back to they are getting back to the reality base. But still, in terms of regulation, we see Poland on a much higher level in terms of way of doing things, in terms of the procedures that you need to follow in order to book a rent, to put a tenant in the apartment. And more than that, we see a more mature market in terms of owner and tenants' expectation from what are the rights and obligation for each one of them. So there's no debate what you can do. It's clear what's your rights, what's your obligation, and that's it. We need to fit in that.
Yeah, I think I kind of agree with you. Even though when we started London Association Mieszkanicznik 2012, everybody thought that the Polish market is at the time difficult, and the things should be simplified. But from the perspective of 10 years, I think the easiest time it's behind us, and now it will be even more complex, complicated, because the regulation will come in. But in my opinion, if you do the basic things like check your tenants, do the signed contract, then be proactive, it's still manageable. And with your platforms, like you can even get more or less the guarantee of rent, so you don't have to worry about that even. So I think it's
indeed, but also what I have seen in regards of the decision, for example, to switch from sole execution, like by doing your own and moving to Milluu. Poland compared with Romania, it's a little bit different in terms of the decision to work with us. It's a little bit longer than the Romania. Obviously, it's the fact that in Romania the product has already 2 years with this business model, and it's in terms of brand awareness, trust. It's a much more scale than Poland. But what we have seen, that the rate of the closing the deals, although it's longer in Poland, it's higher than in Romania. So what I'm trying to say is that the Polish people are willing to change, but takes the decisional time is longer than the Romanian one, but the success rate is higher. Which means if they understand properly what are the benefits, what's the offer, and what do they get, they come. But you need to take it slowly, try to show them the benefits, make them to understand, and quite even give it a try.
Yes, okay. Closing up, maybe one or two more questions. You're looking at maybe, I guess, different markets in Europe. Do you see any other trends that are up and coming for investor? What will be the next wave that possibly could be good to jump on? Do you have any sort of...
What I have seen, yes, indeed. What I have seen also in Romania, in a lot of new markets like Greece, Czech Republic, most probably, I didn't see, not even in Poland so much, that collaborative buyouts. Most probably from the UK, from that the shared buyout in terms of return of investment. I've seen that in Romania, for example. In Poland, it's almost zero. I could say there's no combined buyouts. In order to make and that's a pillar that I can see it in the future, that should also grow in this kind of new markets like ours, like Polish, like Romanian ones. Most probably you are more facilitated with this kind of way of work from a previous experience in the UK, where the people, quite even the price being so skyrocket, they are coming together and buy that property and manage the interest and manage the income together. That's a direction that I would love to see it in. Also, will be also good synergy with what we do, because we combine with some investors and give that asset to us, and that in that way you have your full return of and guarantee of your income.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good. I mean, as a matter of fact, as you know, maybe you remember, I'm working on this sort of platform, but it's not as easy as definitely, like, it has challenges. It's a definitely good idea of pull money together and invest it together, but there's quite a few risks. But I think we'll overcome those risks. My platform, Arkeys, hopefully will be able to do something interesting for investors as well in this market. But it's a long way as well. So, but good. I think definitely crest of the wave for the future. Yeah, it's not something
because now we are speaking daily with investors. Now people are not getting the money to the bank, obviously. So they are going to the stock exchange, or they are buying flats, because still in the city region, the price of the apartment, there's plenty of space to grow. Still, for example, in Romania and Poland, the average price per square meter is around 3,000 euros.
Yes,
it is correctly. It's around there, plus minus. Okay, depending the location, the amenities. go just abroad 500 kilometers in Germany, and you'll see 10,000. So that's why I'm saying it's still plenty of space to grow in terms of investment that will return the money, I don't know, 7-8 years back.
True. And could you just tell me, because I kind of don't I have to say I don't know that. Do you have did you adopt euro in Romania already?
No.
You didn't
No,
yet. Okay.
It's still the Romanian currency. Yes, no.
Mm-hmm. Okay, same like in Poland, because that will definitely, it will probably happen sooner. I mean, probably later than sooner, but I think that will make obviously impact on the prices as well in the future.
Indeed, exactly. That's why in Romania we see that we are not still ready in terms of changing to the gap is so big in terms of revenues, in terms of prices between the Central Europe, and will be a mess if we'll be able to switch now.
Yeah, I think same about Poland as much, that if it's good that we have our own currency, then we can kind of this way we can control it much more than by just being in Eurozone, where it's like too much difference between, for example, Germany, Greece, and they pretty much have the same interest rate, isn't it?
Exactly, and different incomes if you speak about the GDP per capita.
Exactly. So I think at least in this way, I'm really supporting Polish government so far. They didn't do it, and they didn't really move forward too quickly, because I think we'll have, if that happened, we probably had much more problems than we did during the recession times. Okay, good. So any other, just to finish up, any other tips for investors? Something that yourself? Are you investing in property? Because I didn't ask.
No, I put all my money in technology. So all my money and the investor. Imagine that we have put in Milluu till this point almost 3 million euros. Mm-hmm. So if you are seeing us like a startup, yes, we are a startup, but in the same time we have burned a lot of cash in order to be where we stand now. Because as mentioned, this swap and this technology is taking time, is taking a lot of resources and a lot of finally the money to be there. True. To summarize, the change is there. It's not the easy one. Also for the owner, it's not easy to change and give the keys from somebody that's promised something. You need to take it slowly and need to be there in his current life. But there's no doubts that the change is coming. We're gonna be there, and we're gonna work together with you, with owners, with tenants, and also, as you see, there's a lot of new startups that are coming on the real estate, like tenant certification, smart insurance company that are going and reshaping how you rent your apartment. Different kind of facility management company that are trying to struggle and buy pieces on this offline process. All this ecosystem combined will change how people are making their processes on renting, buying, and different kind of stuff. As mentioned, it's not an easy job, but if it would be easy, anyone would do it. That's my premise. So in order to find treasure, don't go on the same roads. We need to go on different roads and take some risk. This is what we are doing. Milluu is taking risk in the name of the owners, but we know exactly how to mitigate that risk in order to be also a reliable company for mid and long term. And it's very important to understand all the people that will listen to this podcast is the fact that we are backed by one of the biggest VCs, venture capital is in Romania, from Poland, Polish investors, Polish venture capital with money from PFR. So we are a strong company that we are here to stay and to improve the owners and tenants experience.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I mean, when you said that, I have an idea for another podcast episode with you about starting the property technology company. Maybe we can do another episode.
I'm happy to join them.
Share your experience, because definitely I can see from my own experience that it's definitely much more challenging than I thought it would be, and I put quite a few money into it as well. And I didn't get support from any venture capital yet, so I didn't even look for it yet. But we'll be interested to get your kind of experience from that area.
It's not easy time to raise money in any cases.
True.
It's presumed that next year will be quite even harder. But I don't know if you have heard, at least in terms of VC funds, PFR has already approved the new scheme for supporting the VCs for the next year. It's almost 1 billion zloty, the new fund, which will give a lot of boost in the technology and startup, not only startup, follow-ons on the current company, which also many of them also will go on the PropTech, which is good. Still, the people, the things are moving.
Definitely a good idea. I would like to see like in UK, when you invest as a venture capital or even as a basically businessman, you can write off all the, if the startup doesn't go the way it should, you can write all the losses from your basically revenue and your so that's the way I would like to see it go as well. Anyway, thank you very much for today. Thanks for all the information that you shared with us. I hope listeners will find it interesting, and I'm already maybe thinking about the second part about starting the PropTech company, and if
with pleasure.
Share your experience, how you got to the point where you got the support from the venture capital, and how to basically maybe some other people find it helpful. Thank you, Florin, for today.
My pleasure. Also, thanks for the invite, and let's stay closer, because we need to keep the community solid and help each other. That's the most important thing that we need to leave from this meeting.
Great. Thanks a lot. Thanks for today. And
thank you.
Everybody, talk to you soon, and listen for another episode. Subscribe if you can for our podcast, and hope you find it interesting. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.